Welcome back, baseball fans, to the Fall Carryover League. Time to eliminate the Giants, the National League West. They had a rough year. This is an era where they just, well, they really, in previously competing with the Giants and the Dodgers on top of the American League West, the National League West. This is where like the Dodgers were just ran unimpeded for about a decade or so without any serious competition in the division other than the Cincinnati Reds, who of course been realigned to the National League North. So without the Giants able to check the Dodgers, then maybe it'll have to be the Houston Astros who check the Dodgers. Anyway, we want to get rid of 8 guys from 1976 from this stack, and we can do that easier by looking at the flip sides. 1, 2, finding 8 guys. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, and with those guys pulled away, first thing we'll do is we'll look at the Giants, how they can build for the future. And, wow, this is interesting because just like Portland, who we did the first elimination of, the Giants have 10 hitters and 2 pitchers here. So that's very strange. Catcher first. They don't have a second baseman. They have Lemaster at short, Evans at third, Lemaster at short. McCovey's a DH. You have Ivy, who can also play first with Hutton, which is a real clogging up roster spot. You have to put Ivy out in left field or something like that. And you have Whitfield in the center. It's kind of a mess here. That's the little problem. And you have Ron Pruitt. There's another catcher, Dave Roberts. So really, I mean, there's 10 guys here, but really it's just not particularly good guys. As meaning that complementing each other. And then pitching, you have 2 starters, Nepper and Uria, and no bullpen. The entire bullpen is gone. And that's reflected here. The 2 hitters they lose are Larry Milbourne and Rob Sparing. So pretty much, that's not much offense whatsoever, so they may as well just keep the 10 guys, rebuild the bullpen, and then plug in utility players at the end of the offense. The work to be done is to figure out what we're going to do with these 6 pitchers. You've got good starters in Jim Barr and Montefusco. This is Montefusco's best year, I believe, 76. And an entire bullpen to replace. Moffitt, Lavelle, Twitchell, and Laxton. So, with that, we're going to take a look and see, statistically, who we're keeping, who we're putting on waivers, and who we retire. Okay, so we have to start with the offense and then move to the pitching. The 2 hitters were alphabetically Milbourne and Sparing. So let's take a look at Larry Milbourne first. Again, Larry Milbourne, 76 card was used, and 77, 78, 79, 80. You know, he doesn't really do anything of significance until 81 when he hits 313. So you may as well, at least for the moment, put him on waivers. There's no reason to retire the guy. He's very young. So we're going to plug in the middle spot for Milbourne. Put a 100 there. And the other hitter is Rob Sparing. And I believe he might be at the end of his rope as well. We plug Rob Sparing. He has 1 more year in 77. It's not very good, and so plug him into the retired pool. Well, that seems pretty self-explanatory. Which means you're going to keep 4 pitchers, you would believe, and that's a good sign. Heck, if you wanted to keep your entire bullpen, assuming they had a career, you could. But we'll start at the rotation. Let's go with Montefusco and see if he continues in San Fran. John Montefusco. So 76 was a big year for him. He was an all-star in 76. And in 77 and in 78, he's still good. And so he's okay. I mean, you know, 1 year he's got a good ERA. 1 year he goes on rotation. He's at least average or better than, and he's only 27, and he's a Giant the entire time. So I say you hold on to Montefusco. Look, they're a last place team, and it's not like you're going to find some, you know, some gold, you know, in the free agent pool. So Montefusco, you will be renewed as a San Francisco Giant. So your value is $10,000. Next up is Jim Barr. Had an interesting career. Starting in 71. Started with the Giants, left and came back, I believe. Yes, he left for the Angels briefly. So 76, he's good. So 77, he's not good, but he rotates. Oh, geez, he's just a lot like, he's just a lot like Montefusco, really. He's got a good 78. And I don't know what to say. And he's with the Giants at 78. So for the moment, until we see somebody better, well, his placeholder will be keeper. All right, now let's get into the bullpen. Now this is where it's going to get interesting, because I know there is some depth and talent in this bullpen. You got to figure out where it is. We're going to start with Twitchell. He could be gone. I don't think he has many good years. So Twitchell, the 76 year we just had, $1.75. It was a great year. But look at 77 is kind of meh. 78, 79, and yeah, it's awful. So you could put him on waivers or retire him, whichever bucket you want to. And by the way, when I say retire a player, it's retired from the team. Often, retired players are kept in a bucket that gets reviewed, and they can come out of retirement. So that doesn't mean the Giants are saying his career is over. But at this point, they are. They're saying, nah, we don't need you anymore, and we're going to put you on our retired list for the moment. Next up, Bill Laxton. Now, we don't have to get to 4-2-2. We just need to get to 4-2-2 before the draft starts, which is going to be in many months from now. This draft will be in the spring. And Bill Laxton's near the end of his rope. And yeah, he's got one more year at 77. It's not a good one. So, for time being, let's do it this way. Let's retire Laxton. This is how this works. Okay? And then move Twitchell onto waivers. You see how that worked? Because we knew Twitchell has more of a career. So we're going to slide Twitchell over into the middle box, the middle bucket. It's called a bucket. And I believe we're getting to the better part. We're getting to Lavelle and Moffitt, and I can tell you already Lavelle's sticking around because he's a career Giant for the most part. Gary Lavelle is the best player in this lot. Very capable lefty. He's an all-star even in 77, so that's a no-brainer. Gary Lavelle's a keeper, and while I'm doing that, let me look at Randy Moffitt. Should be the same case. Randy Moffitt. He has a good 78. Then he gets tricky after that, but he's a Giant in 78. So we're going to say yes to Moffitt as well. So when we go down here, it's going to be Lavelle and Moffitt. And when we do that, decide to keep the bullpen. Giants always have a good bullpen usually, so we're bringing back half of it. We're going to end up bringing back 2 more pitchers with the 2 we already have, and they're going to, you know, they're stuck with those 10 offensive players. We've already decided that it wasn't really worth Larry Milbourne or Ralph Sperring anymore. So we get what we're looking for, a 4-2-2. So again, easy. That's what you want. You want 4-2-2. That means that the Giants don't have to make any more moves in the postseason, and they can get ready for the draft. It's not going to be this way for all 32 teams. There's no way the math works out perfectly that every team has 4 keepers, 2 waivers, and 2 retires. Particularly in the retirement side. You may see one team's going to have 4 guys whose last year is 1976, period. And that means they got to retire all 4. And because you only retire 2, then they have to make deals. And collectively, the whole league is doing that. So that's not a problem. That's kind of a fun little jigsaw puzzle to do to get all the teams to 4-2-2. And again, what does 4-2-2 mean? let's take that number and multiply it by the 32 teams. When you do that, you get this number. Don't look at it as 1,286,464. Draw a line here at 128 between 64 and 64. And when you read that from left to right, what this number says is 128 keepers, 64 guys on waivers, and 64 guys to be retired. That's the point of assigning these values for each of the 3 buckets. Just as a reminder there. And so we are done with the Giants. It's not looking good for the franchise. This is the dark years, and they're getting darker. That's it from the National League West. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you next time.